Price discrimination can be described as different prices for the same goods, but those goods have to have the same cost of production. Right? To do this, a firm must have an ability to keep markets separate. They must have some control over price. Essentially, they face a downward sloping demand curve. They're not a perfectly competitive market. And in general, there are different elasticities within the market. There are people that are willing and able to spend different amounts for the good, and they are more sensitive to price. There's different ways of going about doing that. You can think of time of day. Sometimes prices for food at restaurants are priced differently based on the time of day. Sometimes taxi rides, Uber rides are different based on days of the year, times of the day, etc. Geography. Different parts of the country may share different pricing strategies for the same exact good. And you could think of branding of things. And branding of things can come by any number of different strategies. Things like Costco, where you buy memberships. There may be some branding involved going there where people pay an initial membership and some buy lots and lots and lots of stuff, in which case the average price for them falls. Some don't buy so much, so the average price stays high. Why would a firm want to do this? Essentially, they want to gain consumer surplus. And if you think way back to when we first started talking about consumer surplus and producer surplus, price discrimination allows a producer, a firm, I should say, to gain some part of that consumer surplus. There's a few different ways. Some textbooks call it first degree, second degree, third degree. Others call it just one form perfect. And then general forms perfect price discrimination or first degree price discrimination has the most information, just about anything and everything about every particular customer, and you charge them what they are willing and able to pay. Essentially, you were able to charge each and every point along the demand curve. Second degree, you have a little bit more information. You may not have a ton of information. Costco is a good example of this. They're able to sell memberships. Some people pay more for memberships, some a little bit less for memberships. But the people who spend lots and lots and lots of money there, they may end up, you sort of get a lot of information about them through their spending habits, but they also end up with a lower average price. Lastly, third degree is a way we think of methods. Mostly you just need to think of it as a way to charge mostly two, but sometimes three different prices. It's the least amount of information. Movie theaters are an easy example of that, charging different prices for time. Sometimes matinee versus non-matinee, but also for age. There's senior discounts, there's military discounts for stuff. You're making general statements about people and their willingness and ability to pay. A couple quick diagrams shows you why. If you've got a demand curve and price, once price is there, this is your marginal cost curve. Flat makes it much easier to see in terms of consumer surplus. This area in green, okay, if the firm was not able to price discriminate, that would be the price, and the area under the demand curve and above price would be all consumer surplus. In this case, with perfect price discrimination, they can charge the price for each and every single part of the demand curve. A used car lot might be there, where especially you negotiate. You could think of a market where there are no prices on goods and people negotiate and haggle, so to speak, for things. You end up with a situation where there's actually no consumer surplus. The firm captures all of that. If you have a situation where you might charge two different prices, initially you'd see this particular price, but because of charging different prices, maybe at this quantity, like business travel, charging a much higher price, and then you've got students that are paying a lower price, this area in green becomes captured consumer surplus, that the producers are taking that producer surplus. So price discrimination is something you have to have market power for. Mostly monopolists or colluding oligopolists have the ability to do that, although occasionally monopolistically competitive markets can pull it off as well. Thank you for watching. Once again, keep your opportunity costs high and your expectations low.